Okay, so Mem Hey Amar Aleph, 45A. You got it, Eric?
Not yet. I'm just getting it on my laptops. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
So we're just trying to organize a little bit over here. Okay. So the Gemara says, you had it, Morris, you have it? Shlosha sha'achlu kachas. 3 people that ate together. So just a little introduction into this parak. This parak deals with the matters of zimun and birkas hamazon. After you eat bread, you're obligated. The Torah gives you an obligation. If you eat and you're satisfied, Torah gives an obligation to say birkas hamazon, to bench. And the Rabbanon said that even if you weren't satisfied, even if you only ate 1 slice of bread, you have to also say zayis of bread, an ounce of bread. You have to say birkas hamazon, an ounce. You have to say birkas hamazon. And when you have 3 people eating together, then you have a mitzvah of zimun, of doing a bracha when one calls out to the other 2. Like you say, Rabotai nevarech, and then they say, nevarech shachan l'mishalo, let's give a bracha to the one that we ate from. That's nevarech, right, Morris? Nevarech shachan l'mishalo. And the other people respond, baruch shachan l'mishalo, uftevo chayinu. So it's a bracha, it's a bracha that's done together. 3 people come together to say the bracha. The Rishonim and the Achronim have a discussion if this bracha is a biblical responsibility or this bracha is a rabbinic responsibility. Now, the idea of the zimun is that when you tell the other people, the Meiri says that the inyan of the zimun is that the one who's leading the zimun, he notifies the other members that ate together to say birkat hamazon with kavanah, because by saying nevarech shachanu mishol, let us say a bracha to Hashem. Let us say a bracha to Hashem that we ate from. And what do you mean, let us say? They plan on saying it anyways. They plan on saying birkas hamazon anyways. So even though they plan on saying birkas hamazon anyways, but it's like an extra focus, an extra telling the group that let's say the bracha and let's say it with great kavanah. That's the idea, that we should say the birkas hamazon with great kavanah. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Rabbi.
The Kobo says it is a kavod to Hashem. It is an honor to Hashem when people join together and they encourage each other to give a bracha and to thank Hashem for the good things that God has provided for us. So therefore, when you say nevarech shachanu mishalo, when you go ahead and when the person who leads the zimun is saying to the other 2, let us together say a bracha to Hashem, who we have ate from, the food that he's provided, and the other people respond, yes, baruch shachanu, let's be the one that we ate from. So what that is doing is that you are sending an invitation to the other 2 members, whereas if you have at least 2 members that ate with you, that we're going to go ahead and say a birkat hamazon. We're going to go ahead and say birkat hamazon as a group. We're going to go ahead and say it together. Now, I think it was common in the old days that the one who led the zimun would say actually the whole birkat hamazon for everybody. That was very common in the old days. So that's a little bit about what the zimun is about. It's a joint bracha that we're saying together to Hashem. And there's a concept called Rov Am Hadrat Melech, that when the more people come together to do a mitzvah in a group, It shows great honor to Hashem. And we said there's a machloket in whether this mitzvah of zimun is a mitzvah min haTorah. Do we have a mitzvah min haTorah to make a zimun when 3 people have bread, or is it a rabbinic mitzvah? The Raivad, the Torah, the Levush, the Drisha all hold. And they say in the name of the Ravya and many Gaonim that the mitzvah is min haTorah. There's a biblical obligation to say zimun when you have 3 people, 3 men eating together is a biblical obligation. However, other Rishonim, the Rashba, the Meiri, and others hold that it's always rabbinic. And there's an opinion that says that a zimun of 3 men is rabbinic, but a zimun of 10 people, when you have 10 men together, is min haTorah. That's like a middle of the road. There's 3 opinions. One opinion that even 3 is min haTorah, one opinion that 3 is Rabbanan, and all zimun is Rabbanan, and one opinion is in the middle, that 3 is Rabbanan and 10 is min haTorah. Those are the 3 different approaches. So now the Gemara said, now let's see what the Gemara has to say. Shlosha sha'achlu ka'achat. 3 people that ate together. Now, another point over here that we say Rabbotai Nevarech, right? What's the idea of Rabbotai Nevarech? Is that we're getting ready. We're getting ready to start our mitzvah of zimun. So we're preparing ourselves, and we say the Rabbotai Nevarech, and we're getting the people together to get ready to get to do this mitzvah. Okay. The Gemara says, Shlosha she'achlu ka'achat. 3 people that ate together. You ate together in one group, and we'll have to see more details. What's called eating together? Some people say that it's only if you set out. We set out to eat together, but if let's say, like we had the idea, remember people, if you're eating in a way that you did not set to eat here, I'm like on the move, I'm on the go. Well, let's say we're standing around, we're standing and eating, but we're not really eating in a formal sense, in a way that we're really together. You know, if one guy's coming and one guy's going, that's not really kovea. You're not really together. So most Rishonim hold it's only if you really hear we're eating together as a group. And today's day and age, as you know, when we eat together on a table, right? That's the way that we go ahead. Good morning, Akiva. We're eating together on the table. That means that's like a kaviyut. We're set together, the table eating together. And the Mishnah says, so now the Mishnah says, Shlosha she'achlu ka'achat. 3 people, they went ahead and they ate together. They ate the meal, they started the meal together. Mike, you have it, a mem, hey, a man, aleph? Okay, Shlosha she'achlu ka'achat. 3 men that ate together, chayavim l'zamein. They have an obligation to do zimun. It's an obligation. Whether it's a rabbinic responsibility, whether it's a Torah responsibility, it's a responsibility. That's the first thing that we see in the Mishnah. Now, the Mishnah says that we'll see also in the halacha that if one of the 3 people did not start and did not finish with the group, then there will not be considered an obligation of zimun. We're talking about three people that started eating together. They have an obligation of zimun. Ochel demai. But what about if a person, one of the members of the group, the Mishnah now is going to enumerate on different cases of what the type of foods that were eaten, and the Gemara is going to state whether certain situations, even though you ate together, but there's certain situations. Have a great day. Have a good Shabbat Shalom. Even though you ate together, if you ate certain types of foods that you should not have eaten, you're not going to be able to join in to the zimun. And there are certain foods that even though you didn't eat it in the ideal way that it should have been eaten, yet you still could go ahead and join in. So that's what the Mishnah is going to enumerate for us, different situations on different types of foods that the person ate. And we will see based on those, depending on the situation or what he ate, whether he will be disqualified from joining into the zimun or not. So the Mishnah first talks about the cases that he's not going to be disqualified. What's the case? Ochal demai. Demai is when you go ahead and you buy food from an Am Haaretz. An Am Haaretz is an uneducated Jew, and the Gemara says that many of them, there was a certain amount of them, would not take off the maaser, right? They would have to give 10% to the Levi, and they will have to go ahead and bring 10% to Yerushalayim and eat in Yerushalayim. So if you buy from an educated Jew, a learned Jew, a Talmud Chacham, so if you bought from him the produce, you know that he took off the maaser before he sold the produce. But if you bought it from this uneducated Jew, there was a certain amount of these uneducated Jews, these Am Haaretz, that were suspected that they were not being generous. They were not following the laws of taking off maaser. Truma, which is a small amount to give to the Kohen, they were not suspected of giving a small amount. But maaser, which is 10%, which is a much more significant amount, they were suspected of that. And the little background, the Rambam says, in the days of Yochanan, the Kohen Gadol, the Bezdin HaGadol, the great Bezdin, sent throughout the land of Israel, and they found that everybody was careful to take off Truma. But there was a minority of uneducated Jews that did not take off the other masrot. And when they saw that, the rabbis made a decree that the fruit of all fruit of non-educated Jews, you should consider as if it's a safek. It's a safek, it's a question whether they took off maaser, and those Jews will not be believed to say that these fruits, the maaser was taken off. But since we see that they weren't being careful in it, so you can't trust them that they took off the maaser. And these fruits are called demai. And the word demai is a breakup of two words. Da-mai. What is this? What is this fruit? Does this fruit was the maaser taken off, or the maaser was not taken off? That is now. The Gemara continues. So the first case is ochal demai. If one of the members of the group ate food that you do not know whether it was kosher. What do I mean? Might not have been kosher, because you can't eat food that maaser was not taken off. Because food that maaser wasn't taken off is called tevel. Tevel is food that was not maaser taken off. But you do not know whether the maaser was taken off, because it was bought from a Am Haaretz, and you don't know whether this individual took off the maaser. So really, it's a safek. It's a question whether the maaser was taken off or not. And this member, one of these people, you realize you ate this food. The food that was eaten, you should have removed the maaser, because since you're not sure if the maaser was taken off, you should have removed it, but you didn't, and you ate it. So you have one of the members of the three of the group ate a food, which is a question whether he had a right, question whether he ate food that was really forbidden. Did he really eat tevel? We don't know. It's a safek. So
Wait, so Rav, can I ask a question?
yes.
What's the difference between is demai and the what
Tevel?
and tevel? Is it the same thing or yeah?
No, so tevel means you know that the maaser was not taken off. That's tevel. Tevel is when we know it was not tight. It was not tight. The mai is we don't know. The mai.
Okay.
Is that clear, Mike? Is it clear? Akiva, is it clear? So now, that's case one of the Gemara. One of the members ate the mai. Case two, Maaser Rishon Shenitla Trumato. One of the members ate Maaser Rishon. Maaser Rishon means there's Maaser Rishon and Maaser Sheni. Maaser Rishon means the first Maaser, right, Morris? Rishon means what? First. Maaser Sheni means what? Second. So the Maaser Rishon, the first Maaser that you take off, you go ahead and you take off the Maaser, to the Levi. The Levi's is the first Maaser that you take off. And if you take off the 10% for the Levi, you go ahead and you take 10% on the first and the second and the fourth and the fifth year of the cycle. The Maaser Sheni, you take 10% to Yerushalayim that you eat in Jerusalem. So now we have Maaser Rishon. Now there's a halacha. When you give the Maaser, the 10% to the Levi has to take 10% and give to the Kohen from what the Levi receives from the Maaser. That's called Trumat Maaser. And what happened here? It was Maaser. One of the members ate Maaser Rishon, Shenitla Trumato. The Truma was taken off. The 10% from the Maaser that went to the Levi. Let's say if I would be a Levi, I would have to go ahead and give 10% of what I received as a Levi to the Kohen. But the case here in the Gemara was, remember, how was it supposed to go? You go ahead and you take off Truma. You give Truma. The average person gives 2% as Truma. Minatorah, Morning Yosef Atzadik. 2% is Truma. You give 2% to the Kohen. And then you take off from the remainder, you take off the 10% Maaser and so on and so forth. But this case was, they did not take off, like here it says, the order of the separations is you take off Truma and you give 2%, the average guy is 2% to the Kohen. And then you take off 10% from what's left. Let's say you had 100 things of wheat. So let's say 100 bushels of wheat. So you take from the 100, you give 2 bushels to the Kohen. 2%. Now you have 98% left. 98 bushels left. And then from the 98 bushels of wheat that are left, you give 10% to the Levi. 9.8 of the, meaning you have 98 bushels, so you give 9.8 bushels of wheat to the Levi. And then after that, you subtract the 9.8 bushels from what you remainder you have left. So then you go ahead and you give from that 10% you take to Yerushalayim to eat in Yerushalayim. So now, the Mishnah said in this case there was something went wrong over here. The Levi received his 10%, and the 10% from the Levies, what he received, he gave to the Kohen. But the original Trum, but the original, the Gemara is going to discuss. We'll leave it for the Gemara to say what is the issue here. If the Truma was taken off from what the Levi received, and then the Levi ate with you this meal, what's the issue? What's the chidush of the Mishnah? Why does the Mishnah need to tell me that you could count this guy in for the zimun? It's obvious. Nothing went wrong. You gave the Levi Maaser Rishon. The Levi, and the 10% from the Maaser Rishon, the Levi's earnings, he's supposed to give to the Kohen, and the Mishnah says he gave it to the Kohen. So what's the concern? So the Gemara is going to say there was something that was missing. We'll wait for the Gemara to say, but there was something that was not taken off. So again, Mike, you have the case inside the Mishnah. Maaser, you have it? Maaser Rishon, Maris, you got it? Maaser Rishon shenitla trumato. The Maaser Rishon, the 10% that you gave to the Levi, the truma that the Levi is required to give from what he received was taken off, was given to the Kohen. And then this guy ate from this Maaser Rishon. The Levi ate from the Maaser Rishon that the truma was taken off. He ate from it, and now the Mishnah says you could count him into the zimun. Morning, Sammy. Yes, she's saying hello to you. Yes. So the Gemara says, good, thank you, Sammy. So the Gemara says another case. Maaseh sheni v'hegdesh shenifdu. What does that mean? That let's say we said that there's if you give 10% to the Levi, you give from what your remains, right? So let's say if we do the math. Okay, well, we don't have to do the math now. But you go ahead and you take the 10% that you gave after you gave 10% to the Levi, from what was left, right? You go ahead and you give from what was left, 10% you take called Maaseh Sheni, you separate, and you go ahead and you go to Yerushalayim and you eat in Jerusalem. But let's say it's hard for me to carry all those fruits to Jerusalem. I live in Bnei Brak. I'm going to go travel from Bnei Brak. I live in Tel Aviv. I'm going to bring all those fruits from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. It's a nice trip. It takes maybe a couple of weeks to go, maybe in those old days. So what does the Torah say? The Torah says, you know what? You could go ahead and redeem. Good morning, Ariel Achatan. The Gemara, Mike is so happy to hear that you're here.
Good morning. I'm happy to see everybody. But good morning, Ariel, also.
Happy to see everybody. See that? Good morning, Shmuel Ray. Good morning.
Boker Tov. Sorry I'm
Boker
late.
Tov.
Sorry I'm
Good
late.
to see you. No problem. We say better late than never. That's what we believe. We believe it's not all or nothing. Life, it's not all or nothing. Sometimes we can't get the gold, we go for the silver, right? So the Gemara says, so what happened was the guy, what did you say, Mike?
Until we get the gold.
Yes, we have to stay focused on the gold, but if we we'll take the silver if we don't get the gold, and then eventually, hopefully, we'll get the gold. So what happened was the guy redeemed his wheat.
Rabbi.
Yes.
I'm just sorry. The first case, we're talking about a case that they took the Maaser, right? They took the Maaser Shilon. They didn't take the Maaser Rishon, right?
Okay, so the first case is, so far we have 3 cases in the Mishnah. Case 1, you too, Sammy. Case 1 is the guy ate food that we don't know if Maaser was taken off.
That's the
Demai. That was case 1. We don't know if the Maaser was taken off because there's a minority of Jews. Most Jews, even the uneducated Jews, took off Maaser, but there was some minority of uneducated Jews that did not take off Maaser. And then one of us ate food that was demai, that we do not know if the food the Maaser was taken off. That was case 1.
So that the goal is to find out if they're going to do Zimun, right?
Right. The goal is, are you able to join this member who ate together as the 3 people? Can we join him into the Zimun since he ate food that's questionable, if it was allowed to be eaten?
So one of them eats the mai.
One of these three members ate the mai.
We
Exactly.
don't know if he passes for zimun.
We want to know, can he join into the zimun? Can we make a
But
zimun?
Rabbi,
Meaning
if they
Yes,
eat together, they're not eating from the. They not because you said in the beginning it's three people eating together
right.
same time. I'm guessing, right?
But they
If they
started together. People started together. We
so
sat,
they're
we
not
watched the,
food,
yes.
they're not eating the same food. They're not all eating the mai.
Right, you don't have to, right. If I bring my food to the table, let's say you go to a restaurant, right? Each person, let's say you go out for lunch, and each person is paying for his own lunch. But we're all coming together. I'm paying, everybody orders food, but we're each paying for ourselves, but we're coming together to sit together as a group. So we make a zimun, even though everybody brings their own sandwich from home to work, and we're going to sit down at the table at work. There's a table for lunch for everybody, and everyone brings their own sandwich. But we're sitting together. We're going to eat together. We're coming together. We say, guys, we're going to meet at 12:30. We're going to have lunch. Everyone bring their own lunch, but we're all eating together. So we make zimun, even though it's not all the same bread, right? Because we're coming together as a group to eat. Correct? That would also obligate you. Does not have to be, the food does not have to be all one person's food in order to make a zimun.
Okay,
Now,
I'm sorry to interrupt. So one is mai, the second is tevel, and
so
the third is
so again, the second case is
tevel.
one of the members. Now, the second case, at this point, we do not know what the concern. The Gemara did not clarify yet. The Mishnah did not clarify for us what is the concern. The Gemara, it seems that the case of the Mishnah says one of the members ate the Maaser Rishon, which is the 10% that goes to the Levi, and that 10% was separated, right? They took off. Let's say you had 98 bushels of wheat left. From the 98 bushels of wheat that was left, first I gave 2 bushels. I had 100 bushels of wheat. Good morning, Mr. Goodstein. I had 100 bushels of wheat. You hear that, Ariel? 100 nice bushels of wheat. I gave 2 to the Kohen. 2 is 1/50th, 2% to the Kohen. I got 98 bushels left. For the 98 bushels, the people, young kids in camps, they like to sing 100 bottles of beer on the wall, right? That's a song they would sing. Now we're dealing with 100 bushels of wheat on the wall. So we got 100 bushels of wheat. I got a nice smile from Eric on that. We got 100 bushels of wheat. And I gave 2 to the Kohen. I got 98 left. From the 98 left that I have, I gave 9.8, 10%. I gave to the Levi. And let's say Mr. Patesh upstairs is a Levi. So I gave Mr. Patesh, the Pateshes are Leviim, right? I don't know about all of them. You know what? Mr. Levi's are Leviim, right? Mr. Levi's are Leviim. Levi is Levi, right? Like Cohen is Kohen. So I gave Mr. Levi 9.8 bushels of wheat. And Mr. Levy took all, now Mr. Levy, when he receives his 10%, he also has to give 10, he has to give also 10% on what he received. Who does he give 10% to? To the Kohen. Is that clear? He gives 10% to the Kohen. So the Mishnah says, if you ate, now, by the way, the Levi's food is interesting. It's not like Truma. Truma that I give to the Kohen can only be eaten by a Kohen, right? If I give Mr. Cohen Truma, I give him the 2%. I opened up with the 2%. I gave him 2 bushels of wheat as Truma. I can't eat it because I am not a Kohen. Truma has to be eaten by a Kohen. The wife of the Kohen can eat the Truma, right? The children of the Kohen are Kohanim. The daughters of the Kohen can eat it. They can eat the Truma. Now, but the food that I give to the Levi could give it out. Anybody could eat the food that belongs to the Levi. If the Levi wants to give it to me, I can eat from it. So now, the food of the Levi, that Truma was taken off, that the Levi needed to take off 10% to give to the Kohen. And the Mishnah seems to say, Maaser Rishon shenat la Trumato, that the Truma that was supposed to be taken off was taken off and given to the Kohen. So the obvious question is, it sounds everything was done right. So what's the issue? What's the concern? What's the possible concern that the Mishnah needs to tell us that, you know what? You could count them in for the Zimun. What do you mean? He ate perfect kosher food. The food was Maaser Rishon, and he took off the Truma. So we have to stay tuned to figure out what is the chidush, what is the Mishnah teaching us by telling us this idea. Well, it's obvious. Why should it should be 100%? Nothing went wrong. So therefore, we have to stay tuned. What is the issue that the Mishnah needs to tell us that you could count this guy in? Of course, you count him in. If everything was done right, that the Maaser Rishon, the Levi's 10% that he received, he gave. Let's say the Levi got 9.8 bushels, and he gave from the 9.8 bushels, he gave 10%. What's the concern? Okay, stay tuned. But Mike, that's the language of Mishnah. Maaser Rishon, the 10% that went to the Levi, shenatla trumato, that the truma that he has to give to the Kohen was taken off. So we have to see. We'll wait to the Gemara to clarify what's the possible concern. Similarly, the Mishnah says another case. Maaser Sheni. Maaser Sheni, we said, is, let's say, there's a cycle, there's a 7-year cycle. Really, it's a 6-year cycle. The 7th year is Shemitah. And the way it goes when you have to give the Maaser, the Maaser has some, depending on the years of the 6-year cycle, there is some differences regarding Maasrot. Let me explain. Truma is all 6 years. Every year of the cycle, you got to give to the Kohen. Okay, is that clear? Every year you give to the Kohen. Now, when it comes to Maaser, every year of the 6 years, you give Maaser to the Levi. Okay, 10% the Levi gets all the time. 10% every year of the 6-year cycle, you give to but the 7th year is Shemitah, so therefore Shemitah is hefker. It's patur from the Maaser, what I recall. The 6 years, but there's a difference. The 3rd and 6th year, there is difference. What's the difference? The 1st year and the 2nd year, you give, we said, you always give 10% to the Levi, but the first and 2nd year, you take 10% for yourself. You separate and you go to Yerushalayim and you eat it there. Okay, that's you eat it there. Your family eats it there. It has to be eaten in the holy city. That's the 1st and the 2nd year. The 3rd year, you're not obligated to take off 10% eat in the city of Jerusalem. The 3rd year, you got to give 10% of the produce to the poor person. For the ani. It's called Maaser Ani. And the same thing, and that's the first 3 years, and it repeats itself 4, 5, and 6. Year 4 and 5, you give 10%, bring to Yerushalayim, to Jerusalem, and year 6, you give 10% to the poor person. Okay, I don't want to get anybody confused. It might be a little complex to remember all that, but let's get back. Now we're talking about the Maaser Sheni. After you gave 10% to the Levi, you separate 10% and you bring to Yerushalayim. But if it's too difficult for you to carry, if you don't live in the old city, so then if you want, you could redeem it. The Torah says you go ahead and you say, this, let's say I have a certain amount of bushels of wheat, I'm going to redeem it. This is, and these bushels of wheat are worth, let's say, $100. So I'll take coins, and this money will be the holiness of the Maaser Sheni will go onto the coins, and I'll bring the coins to Jerusalem and I'll buy food in Jerusalem. And once I redeem it, then the produce I can eat here outside Jerusalem. You hear what happened, Ariel? I transferred the holiness of the produce onto the coins. And now the produce now becomes permitted for me to eat here in Tel Aviv. Shmuel Rave, is that clear or not? That's called Masa Sheni that I redeem. And I have to add a fifth to the value when I redeem it. We'll see more about that, but I have to redeem what type of coins I need to use when I redeem it. But I went ahead and I redeemed the Masa Sheni. So now what I do wrong? It sounds like I did everything right. I redeemed the Masa Sheni. And then I ate the Masa Sheni. Then we were in Tel Aviv and we had a meal and I ate the Masa Sheni that I already redeemed. So once I redeemed it, everything is good. What's the issue? What's the possible concern? Stay tuned. Similarly, Hegdish. Let's say I go ahead and I say, I want this table, I'm making this table Hegdish. I'm donating this table to Hegdish, right? It's going to be holy. And let's say but if I want, there's a way I could go in and redeem the table. And instead of giving the table to Hegdish, I can redeem the table onto money and give the money instead to Hegdish. Or let's say the case obviously here is I made certain amount of wheat Hegdish. Let's say I said that all my bundles of wheat, I want to make Hegdish. I want to make it holy for the Beit HaMikdash, that the value of that now the Hekdesh, the Beit HaMikdash will own the value of this, the wheat will belong to the Beit HaMikdash. If I want to get the wheat back, so once I went ahead and I said, this is holy, this is for the Beit HaMikdash, now it becomes holy, it belongs to the Beit HaMikdash, right? It's amazing, the power of a word. Just saying that it's going to be holy makes it holy. Now it's no longer, I cannot eat it anymore. It became holy. It became Hekdesh. But I said, I have a way to go ahead and redeem it. I can redeem it. So that's what happened over here. I redeemed this wheat. And once I redeemed it onto money, and the money belongs, and I give the money to Hekdesh, the money becomes Hekdesh. And then I go ahead and be able to eat the wheat. It now becomes back to me. And when you redeem the Masa Sheni, or when you redeem the Hekdesh, you have to add a fifth to the value. Let's say it would sound like if you redeem it for $100, you have to add a fifth, $20 to the 100. You redeem that because a fifth, 20% if you redeemed it. If you didn't bring the actual Masa Sheni to Yerushalayim, but you did this alternate route, by redeeming it onto money, you have to add a fifth. Okay. So that's the Mishnah says that if a person ate any of these foods that was redeemed, the Hekdesh that was redeemed, or the Masa Sheni that was redeemed, you could count them in for the Zimun. Hashamash. Let's say you had a waiter. He was waitering on you. And there was two people eating a meal, and then there was a third man, the waiter, and he was serving you. And v'achal kazayit, and he ate with me. The waiter ate with me a kazayit. He went ahead and he ate a kazayit, and yeah, Rashi says he ate the kazayit because he wanted to join in to the meal. He wanted to join in order to make a zimun. And I could count this waiter in for the zimun. He sat down and he ate with us. Now, the obvious question again is, what is the concern? Isn't it obvious that you could count the waiter in? If the waiter sat down, he ate with us, and the reason why he ate with us was he wanted to make a zimun. So what is the necessity to tell me that you could count them in? Why would we think otherwise? Stay tuned. Similarly, the Gemara says akuti. The kutim. The kutim were the people that converted, and they kept the Torah. Obviously the original conversion must have been a good conversion, because or else it wouldn't have been. They would never be considered a conversion. But we're talking about they went ahead, and then subsequently they went ahead and they were only following the written law.
These guys, Rabbi, these guys are out. They don't count, no?
So the Mishnah says, again, in the time of the Mishnah, we'll have to see later on. Remember, we had Gemaras about these, that later on they made them like goyim, they treated them like halachically like goyim. But here in the Mishnah, at least in the Mishnah's time, well, maybe later on in the time of the Gemara, things changed. But in the Mishnah, it says you could go ahead and mizamnan alav. You could still, there's a chidush here that you could count. And by the way, he quotes the Gemara Chulin that Mike may be referring to, that when the rabbis found they were worshiping Avodah Zarah and Hagrizim, they made them like goyim, and therefore you cannot count them anymore in Zimun. But in the time of the Mishnah, before they discovered that this idol worship that they were idling, that they were worshiping, they said you're allowed to go ahead. These type of people, you can't include a non-Jew into a zimun.
Rabbi, the
Yes.
chidush that you can count a convert. Is that right?
No, again, a real convert, there's no chidush. A real convert is obligated in the mitzvot. There's no chidush to tell me they could count a real convert in zimun. He's a convert. He's obligated in the mitzvot like every other Jew.
So what's the reason they say the kutim?
Because the Kutim, they were Jews that did not keep the oral law. They did not keep
Oh, it was known even at the time of the Mishnah, they were not keep the oral law.
right. Even at the time of the Mishnah, they were not keeping the oral law, the Torah Shabbat Peh. They were keeping they kept the written law. And we'll have to see only the written law. And also they made great mistakes because they took the written law literally. If the Torah says eye for an eye, they thought it means you have to knock out somebody's eye if he knocks out someone's eye, but that's not the law. The law is the value of an eye. Well, the Torah says don't make a fire on Shabbat. They thought it means you can't put the lights on before Shabbat and leave it. You can't make a fire before Shabbat and leave it going. We make a fire before Shabbat, we cover it, and we have food on, we keep food hot. They ate in the dark on Shabbat. Yes, what do you say, Ariel? A proper conversion, you could of course, a conversion, if a person does not accept upon himself all the mitzvot and the oral law, he will not be considered a Jew. It will not be a good conversion. It's not a good conversion. I would say that reform conversion is not a conversion. Have a good day. But if a person acts, I would think that they originally must have accepted upon themselves all the mitzvot, and then later on they decided just to. That's what I would suggest happened by these kutim. So now the Mishnah continues, and the Gemara says, "Mizamin alav." You could count them into a zimun, but ochel tevel. But if he ate food that maaser was not taken off, maaser wasn't taken off. That means it's not kosher. I mean, not kosher doesn't only mean when you go ahead and you eat something that's pork. Not kosher means there's a prohibition to eat the wheat that maaser was not taken off. If you don't give to the Levi, it's an amazing thing how the Torah looks at the food that you're obligated to take off certain maaser. If you don't go ahead and take off the maaser for that food is forbidden for you to eat. You have no right. It's asur. It's tevel, and you're not allowed to go ahead and eat it. It's like in a certain sense we say you can't eat the food that you didn't say a bracha on. It's asur. It's asur to eat the food. It's forbidden. So it's forbidden to eat this maaser. Rishon shelo nitna trumato. If the truma, again, achal tevel, if you did not take off maaser at all and you ate the food that maaser wasn't taken off, or you went ahead and your maaser rishon shelo nitna trumato, or maaser rishon that the truma wasn't taken off, that means the Levi did not take his 10% and give to the Kohen. So it's forbidden to eat the food. And if he ate the food, you can't count them into the zimun. Maaser sheni v'hegesh shelo niftu. Maaser sheni and hegesh that was not redeemed. Also, you can't go ahead and count the person into the zimun if they did not redeem. the Maaseh Sheni, and he ate it outside Jerusalem. This Maaseh Sheni you're supposed to eat in Jerusalem, unless you redeemed it onto coins, and then you can eat this outside. But he did not redeem it, and he ate it outside. You cannot count them into the Zimun. I think we're going to stop over here because it's getting a little late, and we're going to wish everyone a beautiful Shabbat. And we'll continue on Sunday. I think around 10 o'clock on Sunday. We'll send to the group on Sunday. I want to wish everyone an easy fast. Shiva Sabbatamuz. I thank everybody for joining in.
תודה.
Shalom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
להתראות.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shalom, everybody.
Thank
Good to
you.
see Akiva and everybody.
Shabbat
Thank you,
shalom.
Eric.